Hello, thank you for joining me. This isn't my usual kind of video because I'm sat at home. We're not going to go exploring anywhere. I just want to talk about something that seems to be a bit of a problem, and I want to address this and hopefully, you know, make people a bit more aware of this. A problem I've got, I'm dyslexic, and some of you will know that. Some of you may well be dyslexic yourself. Now, for those who don't know, dyslexic basically means occasionally you may make spelling mistakes. You can't necessarily see the words or the letters of a word in the right order. And it often happens with numbers. A recent example is in a video I put out. I've had about God knows how many people telling me that a class 156, I called it a class 165. Now, of course, being a rail enthusiast, I completely know the difference between the two classes. They're both diesels, but they are quite different. So I do know the difference, the way they sort of assume, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about because he's called it class 165. Anyway, so they're some of the sort of symptoms of being dyslexic. And people, it tends to be older people. I'm not. I don't want to tar everyone with the same brush. 'Cause I know there's a lot of older people out there who do understand what dyslexia is, and there's some younger people as well who won't necessarily understand. But it tends to be older people who sort of seem to have this. I mean, I got a comment recently saying your spelling is atrocious. Go back to school. It's like, well, yeah, well, it's not practical. I can't just go and re-enroll at the school, can I? It's a stupid comment to make. I agree my spelling isn't 100% correct. The thing is, I will, when I make my videos, so these are the videos we're talking about on the whole where there's writing on, not necessarily while I'm talking. Or sometimes while I'm talking, I get my words mixed up. Once at Shrewsbury, I called the signal box Seven Tunnel Junction. I just meant to say Seven Junction, but somehow I said the word tunnel, which is a completely different place on the railway network. So occasionally, yes, there's things like that, but so when I write things, the mistakes will creep in. I always do check what I've written, but some things I just simply won't notice. I could check hundreds and hundreds of times, and I won't see if a mistake is there. An example is when it's written down, it can be a bit embarrassing sometimes. So if I ever have to call out names, the names Michael and Michelle, I can't tell the difference. To me, they look exactly the same. So, and sometimes people get a bit like, I've had to call out a name, and I'll say Michael or Michelle. Sorry, I don't know the difference. They sort of look at me as like, but that's how it is. I don't know the difference. You could tell me 100 times, oh well, yeah, I don't know the difference. To me, they look the same. I think you get my point on that one. So, that is a problem with being dyslexic, and it seems that people either I'm not. I think well, there's three types of comments I tend to get with being dyslexic. Firstly, you get the well-meaning people who are trying to help, but they simply comment. They'll just tell you you've got it wrong. Now, I get their well-meaning, but the thing is, you get too many of them comments like that, and it takes attention away from the original point of the post. So to me, if I see something, if I understand, if it's obvious what it means, I'm not going to comment and tell them they've got it wrong because usually it's very unusual that the mistake would actually give you completely different information. If I thought it did, I may well pin a post to a video to explain actually it's not that. But often, I can't think of an example right now. One might come to me, but often, I might say the wrong thing. People tell you you're wrong. I know they mean well, but it just gets a bit, to keep getting those comments when people it almost seems it doesn't matter how interesting what you post, you've only got to get something wrong, and people bombard you with those kind of comments. So that's one type, the well-meaning people, but it's still just a little bit annoying. Then you get the ones who are just plain pedantic. They sort of look for it, and they'll just tell you. They'll say, "Oh, it's not this, it's that." So that's they're out there looking for it. Then you get the ones that will like not only tell you you're wrong, but will go and then add, basically trying to be as nasty as they can. Like I once had a comment made. A bloke basically said, "If you're dyslexic, you shouldn't be allowed to make videos." I mean, it's a really stupid thing to say. And also telling me learn to spell. Well, it's like, well, it's not that I don't want to learn to spell. I'll do my best. I'll try not to get the spelling mistakes, but like I say, they'll get in there. Well, these people who tell me, "Oh, yeah, I can see you're dyslexic, but you still need to learn to spell." I mean, would they go up to someone in a wheelchair and say, "Right, come on, get out of that wheelchair and learn to walk"? I somehow don't think they probably would. So, whilst being physically disabled is a completely different disability, and I'm not saying they don't have their own fair share of problems, but possibly very different problems. I don't know why people seem to think it's almost like, to me, being dyslexic is the one. It's the one disability that's socially acceptable to laugh at. It's like, oh yeah, how funny! Let's laugh at something, because he's got it wrong, and oh yeah, it's really funny, isn't it? Because yeah, it's very very irritating when you're that person and you're you know and another one I got told, someone just said to me, geography is not your strong point. It's like, well, what do you mean by that? I said to him, well, go on then, tell, if you want to tell me geography is not my strong point, tell me. Why do you think that? Because I think he didn't respond, so I think he was just being an idiot. I mean, look, this is slightly tangent here, but to give you an idea, geography is not my strong point. This wasn't planned, but look, for some reason I just happen to have a map out. I'm always looking at maps. They fascinate me, and I've got books everywhere, DVDs. More, these are just some of my books. I've got literally thousands and thousands of books. So I read books. I might not necessarily read them cover to cover, and I don't really ever read novels. I just find it easier to watch a film. To me, a novel is a slow version of watching TV. I'm not saying those who read novels shouldn't. That's great if you enjoy them, but to me, that's not what I do. So, to tell me geography is not my strong point, just because I'm dyslexic and I might have said something wrong, it's a really silly thing to say. And I think probably most dyslexic people agree with me that yes, we're going to make mistakes. We don't want people to keep telling us. We certainly don't want people laughing at us and making fun of us, because that's it's just horrible. And like I said, I don't think they'd make fun of people with other disabilities. I'm not saying for 1 minute they should, but it seems to be the socially acceptable thing amongst some people. Often, and they tell me I should go back to school. It's like, well, if that's what you actually want to say, that I should go back to school because I'm dyslexic, then you're probably actually the one who's not that intelligent. Because if you genuinely think me, a bloke in my 30s, should go back to school, you've got to be a bit stupid, because I can't just go back to school. Okay, I could go to like a night school or something, but that would be to do something completely different. I don't think I could go there. And like I say, I could be given a load of spellings to learn. I might be able to learn them, physically learn them, but then I'd forget them. And then there's other words, especially when I deal with places in other countries. I'm even more likely to make spelling mistakes. I often find it's not so much of a problem. I mean, say in Germany, occasionally I might, they get their long words. I find if I make German videos, if I make a mistake there, the Germans, they might tell you you're wrong, but they're straight just to the point. They tell you you're wrong. They don't have to be sarcastic. They don't try and make a joke. They don't try and, sort of make it look like it's about themselves. So I just think, and probably I'm going to use this video, so it's like I can use it as a link. So when people do from time to time make these silly comments about me being dyslexic, I'm just going to say, well, can you please watch this video? And I'll explain why, I don't want you people to comment and correct me for being dyslexic, because that's not what it just takes the attention away from the point. I spend a lot of time, a lot of money on making these videos, and I really enjoy making videos. That's why I do it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. I just wish people could be a bit more understanding about what dyslexia is, and I wish people wouldn't laugh at people. And also, mistakes, whether it's dyslexia or not, I don't know. Video 125, I've got numerous ones of their DVDs. Occasionally there's mistakes in them. In one of them, they go past Long Rock Depot down near Penzance in Cornwall, and they call it Long Cross Depot. So, I don't know if someone was dyslexic and it got through, it fell through into the script, but so mistakes come up everywhere. But you can't really, people might have shouted at their tellies, but it just seems with YouTube, it's like people are very keen to go straight on the comments and laugh at you or tell you you're an idiot because you can't spell things. And it's very, very irritating and annoying. And often these people, like I said, I'm sure most of them wouldn't, unless they're really, really horrible, wouldn't make fun of other disabilities. They're probably fairly decent people. They're probably, if they really thought about it, would actually be quite embarrassed by it. There was one recently who told me I should go back to school. I actually looked him up on Facebook and I thought, God, you couldn't believe, to look at him, he looked like a really decent human being, just like a decent bloke. You sort of can't believe people, so what possessed him to tell me I should go back to school? I don't know. It's all very odd. Anyway, I think I've got my point across. So thank you for joining me on this one. Like I say, it really isn't my usual type of video. And probably all the other videos you'll see will either be me showing you around somewhere or be a video that I filmed and there'll be captions in. And yes, there might be the odd mistake. And if there is, you know, just keep watching and just I don't need to be told it's wrong because I've probably, seen it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe. That would be really nice. I'm hoping to get to 15,000 subscribers this summer. That'd be a really nice thing. So thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.